The night opens like any other episode of Jimmy Kimmel Live. People laughing, clapping, shouting Jimmy's name. The band warming up like it's just another fun night out in Hollywood. The energy feels loose and loud, the kind of crowd that came to relax, hear a few jokes, and forget about politics for an hour. But underneath the noise, everyone knows tonight isn't going to be normal. There's a tension in the room that doesn't belong to a comedy show, a sense that this audience didn't just come to laugh, they came to witness something. Donald Trump walks out confident, smiling, soaking in the noise as it belongs to him. Jimmy welcomes him with a quick joke that lands, but something breaks almost immediately after. Jimmy doesn't lean back. He keeps his eyes on Trump, steady and unblinking, like he's already crossed a line in his head and decided not to come back. Trump notices the shift before anyone else does. His smile tightens, his shoulders stiffen, and the easy posture he walked in with starts to look rehearsed instead of natural. Jimmy breaks the quiet without softening it. He doesn't say rumor or gossip. He frames it like a civic problem, something bigger than tabloid noise. Mr. President, he says, calm but sharp, when a claim touches family and credibility, silence becomes policy. The words land heavy. Trump scoffs and cuts in fast, trying to reassert control. "Here we go," he mutters, loud enough for the mic. "Late night turning into a tribunal." A few nervous laughs ripple through the crowd, but they fade quickly when Jimmy doesn't smile back. Jimmy doesn't back off. He presses, voice still level, almost cold. "You've called a lot of things fake before," he says. "But this isn't about jokes or ratings. This is about trust." Trump bristles. "You're fishing," he snaps. "This is trash and you know it." Jimmy nods once, not agreeing, just acknowledging the dodge. "Then answer it," he replies. "Clear it up. One sentence." That's when the room fully locks in. No music, no laughter, just the sound of cameras and breathing. Jimmy delivers the question the way a prosecutor reads a charge. Slow, precise, impossible to misunderstand. He references the claims about Barron, Melania, and Ivanka, careful with his wording, but relentless in the framing. "There are claims out there," he says, "and people want to know what you say to them." Trump freezes. Not for long, but long enough. It's a visible stall, the kind that tells everyone watching that this isn't scripted. The microphone picks up a sharp inhale, louder than it should be, and suddenly every tiny movement feels amplified. Trump tries to laugh it off, but the sound comes out flat. "This is disgusting," he says, shaking his head. "You should be ashamed." Jimmy doesn't flinch. "I'm asking," he replies steady, "because your silence keeps the story alive." Trump snaps back harder now. "You're spreading lies," he says. "You're doing their dirty work." Jimmy fires right back, sharper than before. "I'm not spreading anything. I'm asking you to shut it down, or explain why you won't." The audience is dead quiet now, like they're watching a courtroom instead of a studio. Trump's jaw tightens. His eyes flick away from Jimmy, then back, then down. He reaches for the glass of water, but doesn't lift it, just stares at it like it might offer instructions. Trump finally speaks, but it's not an answer. It's a shutdown. He shakes his head, lips tight, voice clipped. "I'm not talking about that nonsense. No comment. I'm not going there." He says it like a door slamming, like the conversation is over because he decided it is. A few people in the audience start to clap out of habit, but it dies almost immediately when Jimmy doesn't move on. Jimmy tilts his head slightly, calm but sharper now. "No comment doesn't end a story," he says. "It feeds it." Trump bristles. "Don't lecture me in my own country," he snaps. Jimmy fires back without blinking. "I'm not lecturing you. You're not refusing me. You're refusing the room." Trump shifts, clearly irritated that the old trick isn't working. "It's garbage," he says louder. "Fake. Filth. I won't dignify it." Jimmy nods once, then reaches to his side. A screen lights up behind him. Not flashy, not dramatic, just a clean list of dates, headlines, public statements people have already seen online. No claims added, no proof shown, just the timeline of how the story has lived in public. The crowd stiffens. Trump turns, sees it, and his face darkens. You came prepared, Amma, he says, voice sharp. Jimmy answers immediately. So did the public. Trump jabs a finger toward the screen. This is exactly what I'm talking about, he says. You pretend to be neutral, but you're pushing a hit job. His voice rises. You're not an interviewer. You're a courier. The word lands hard, almost sneering. Jimmy doesn't hesitate. If I'm a courier, he shoots back, then you're dodging the package. The audience reacts this time. Audible gasps, scattered applause, people whispering, because they know the line just crossed from tense into personal. Trump leans back, jaw clenched, trying to flip the table. This is propaganda, he says. Late-night politics for clicks. Jimmy cuts in, colder now. This isn't about clicks. It's about credibility. Trump scoffs. You're spreading lies. Jimmy snaps back. Then shut them down. Say it. He lets the silence hang for half a beat before delivering the trap. One sentence, he says slowly. Not for me, for every voter watching right now. Are you saying the claim is false? Trump opens his mouth like he's about to explode, then stops. He looks at Jimmy. He looks at the audience. He looks anywhere but the camera. The room starts to murmur, people shifting in their seats, whispering, because the answer still isn't coming. Trump exhales through his nose, says nothing, and stares ahead. And then Trump snaps out of the silence with force. He leans forward hard, voice rising, no patience left to hide behind. I don't answer anti-American attacks, he says, slow and sharp, like each word is meant to sting. That's what this is. Anti-American. He repeats it, louder, turning the phrase into a shield and a weapon at the same time. You don't get to smear the president and call it comedy. The temperature in the room changes instantly. Any leftover laughter evaporates. No clapping, no music. Just the sound of Trump's voice and the weight it drops on the studio. He keeps going, feeding the moment with anger. This is how they undermine the country, he says, waving a hand toward Jimmy, toward the desk, toward the cameras. Whispers, cheap shots, fake questions dressed up as concern. His tone turns accusatory, almost scolding. You think this is brave? This is disgraceful. A few audience members shift in their seats. Others stare straight ahead, realizing this isn't an interview anymore. It's an indictment, and Trump is daring the room to pick a side. Jimmy doesn't match the volume. He doesn't argue. He lets Trump burn through his words, then cuts clean through the smoke. Patriotism isn't a mute button, he says, flat and cold. The sentence lands like a slap because it doesn't sound rehearsed. It sounds final. A quiet reaction ripples through the crowd. A low, ooh, but no one applauds. It feels wrong to clap. This feels like a hearing, not a show, and everyone knows it. Jimmy pivots without retreating. He doesn't go back to family. He goes somewhere Trump can't dismiss as gossip. Let's talk about leadership, he says. Real pressure. Trump scoffs immediately. I've handled pressure my entire life, he fires back. You wouldn't last a day. Jimmy doesn't blink. Then this should be easy, he replies. If you can't address a claim calmly, how do you address a crisis? The question slices straight through Trump's armor. This isn't about rumors anymore. It's about control, discipline, and credibility. Trump explodes again. That's insulting, he snaps. You're twisting this. You're trying to make me look weak. Jimmy leans in slightly, voice steady but unforgiving. I'm not making you look anything, he says. I'm asking why this one rattles you. Trump starts talking over him, then stops himself, jaw clenched, eyes flashing. The room feels tight, compressed, like everyone's holding the same breath. Jimmy delivers the closer like a prosecutor who knows the record. You've answered harder questions when it helped you, he says. You've taken on scandals, lawsuits, elections, right here on camera. He pauses just long enough for the comparison to sink in. So why is this the one you can't touch? Trump opens his mouth fast, ready to fire back, but nothing comes out. He freezes. The camera catches it clean. The pause, the swallow, the crack. The tension doesn't explode. It settles in, heavy and suffocating. The band shifts, hands hovering over instruments, waiting for the familiar cue that never comes. In the corner, a producer raises a hand and makes the cut signal again. Sharper this time, urgent. Jimmy finally glances over, then looks straight back at Trump. 30 seconds, he says into the mic, firm and unapologetic. The crowd reacts with a low ripple of surprise. Everyone knows what that means. The show's rhythm is being sacrificed on purpose. Jimmy is burning airtime to keep the pressure exactly where it is. Trump feels the moment slipping and reaches for a different weapon. He leans back, forces a grin, and tries to laugh it off like it's all beneath him. "Come on, Jimmy," he says, waving a hand. "You love ratings. This is your Super Bowl." A few laughs break out, weak and scattered, like people checking if it's safe to laugh. It isn't. Jimmy cuts right through it without changing his tone. "No," he says. "This is your deposition." The word lands hard, ugly, legal. The laughter dies instantly. Trump's smile freezes, then fades. Trump bristles, clearly stung. "You see what he's doing?" he says, turning slightly toward the crowd. "He's turning gossip into a circus." He scoffs. "This is why people don't trust the media." Jimmy doesn't defend himself. He lets the accusation hang, then answers quietly, sharper than yelling. "You walked into this room," he says. "No one dragged you here." Trump snaps back, "And I didn't come here to be ambushed." Jimmy fires right back. "Then stop dodging." The audience watches the exchange like it's slowed down. The cameras drift off the stage and into the seats. A woman in the front row lifts her phone, recording openly now. A man 2 rows back presses his lips together, shaking his head. Another covers his mouth, eyes wide. No one is cheering. No one is booing. They're documenting. The pressure shifts from confrontation to exposure. Trump notices the phones. His eyes flicker. His posture tightens. This isn't about winning the room anymore. It's about what the room will remember. Trump tries one last time to pull the crowd back. "This is ridiculous," he says, scoffing. "You're embarrassing yourself." Jimmy doesn't flinch. "I'm sitting here," he replies. "You're the one sweating." That lands harder than any insult. Trump's jaw tightens. His hands grip the chair. The studio feels locked in place, like time slowed down just enough for everyone to understand the truth settling in. The room settles into an uneasy quiet, the kind that feels deliberate instead of stunned. Jimmy shifts back in his chair, lowers his voice, and slows his pace like someone changing tactics mid-fight. There's no edge now, no bite, just calm control. "Let me give you an easy way out," he says almost politely. "You can deny it plainly. One clean sentence. We move on." It sounds generous, almost fair, and that's what makes it dangerous. Trump doesn't jump in this time. He pauses, eyes narrowing, clearly aware that this isn't pressure. It's a trap, dressed up as courtesy. Trump exhales and shakes his head, irritated but cautious. "I shouldn't even have to answer this," he mutters. "It's nonsense." Jimmy nods, not disagreeing, not challenging. "Then say that," he replies evenly. "Say it's false." Trump's tone hardens. "It's dangerous nonsense," he snaps. "Anti-American garbage." The contradiction hangs in the air like a bad smell. Dangerous things matter. Nonsense doesn't. The audience catches it immediately, a few heads tilting, a few brows furrowing as the logic starts to crack. Jimmy doesn't pile on. He doesn't repeat the claim. He just presses the weak spot. "Help me understand," he says quietly. "If it's nonsense, why is it dangerous?" Trump opens his mouth to fire back, then stops himself. His jaw tightens. He looks away for a split second, then back, clearly frustrated. "Because people like you keep pushing it," he snaps. Jimmy doesn't blink. "I didn't create it," he says. "I gave you a chance to kill it." The silence stretches again, thicker this time. Trump shifts in his chair, fingers tapping once on the armrest before stopping, like he realizes even that movement is being watched. Jimmy leans forward just slightly, lowering the volume even more, forcing the room to lean in with him. He strips everything away. No framing, no explanation, no safety net. "False?" he asks. Just the word. Trump locks eyes with him, no smile, no anger, just a stare. Seconds pass. He says nothing. Jimmy straightens in his chair, and the shift is immediate. This isn't a host reacting anymore. This is someone taking control of the floor. His voice stays even, but it carries authority now, the kind that doesn't need volume. You're trying to leave this show with no answer, he says, eyes locked on Trump, and call it strength. The line lands hard. Trump flinches, not physically but visibly. His face tightens, his shoulders stiffen, like he's been stripped of a layer he thought was still protecting him. That's ridiculous, Trump snaps. You're twisting this. You're talking circles and pretending it's truth. Jimmy doesn't blink. No, he replies. I'm pointing at what everyone just watched. Trump leans forward, voice rising, trying to muscle his way back in. I don't owe you anything, he says. You keep yapping like this is some kind of courtroom. Jimmy cuts him off, sharp now. You walked into the courtroom, he says. Cameras on. Audience seated. Question asked. Trump scoffs, shaking his head. You think you caught me? He sneers. This is cheap. Jimmy fires back immediately. What's cheap is pretending silence is leadership. The crowd reacts under their breath. Small gasps, murmurs, because the mask is clearly slipping. Then Jimmy does something Trump doesn't expect. He turns away from him. He looks out at the audience, palms open, like he's addressing a jury. You don't have to pick a side, he says calmly. You just have to notice what happened. The room freezes. Trump looks out too, scanning faces, realizing the attention has shifted away from his volume and onto the moment itself. Phones are up. Eyes are locked. The power dynamic flips right there, and Trump feels it. Trump snaps, louder, sharper, desperate to drag it back. This is a setup, he barks. You're not neutral. You're running messages for someone else, pushing an envelope. It's a direct attack, meant to stain Jimmy's credibility and reassert dominance. Jimmy doesn't hesitate. Neutral isn't silent, he says. Neutral is fair. He pauses just long enough to make it hurt. And fair means answers. Trump opens his mouth to interrupt, then stops. The room doesn't belong to him anymore, and everyone, especially him, knows it. Trump's restraint doesn't just crack, it collapses. He slams his palm down on the armrest, the sound sharp enough to make people flinch, then kicks the chair back so hard it screeches across the floor. I'm leaving, he snaps, voice raised, stripped of polish. This is disrespect. Absolute disrespect. He stands up fast, towering over the desk, trying to end the moment with his body instead of his words, like authority itself should be enough to shut the room down. For a split second, it feels like he might bark another order, like he expects the lights to cut and the band to bail him out. They don't. The studio freezes, caught between shock and realization. This isn't a bluff. This is him pulling the plug. Jimmy doesn't stand. He doesn't reach out or try to calm him down. He lets Trump own the movement, then owns the meaning. Walking away is still an answer, he says, steady, cutting clean through the noise. Trump pauses mid-step, jaw tight, pretending not to hear it. Jimmy finishes the thought without raising his voice. Just not the one you want on record. The line lands heavy like a stamp pressed onto live television. The audience erupts into chaos. Uneven applause, sharp gasps, someone blurting out, "Oh my God!" Another voice whispering, "Did he just leave?" It's not celebration and it's not outrage. It's the sound of people realizing they're watching a moment that won't be undone. Trump turns his back and heads for the exit, shoulders stiff, muttering under his breath, refusing to look back like looking back might cost him something. The cameras follow out of instinct, but the power stays behind. As soon as Trump clears the frame, the spotlight locks onto the empty chair he abandoned, bright and unforgiving, like an exhibit left behind at a trial. Jimmy doesn't rush to fill the silence. He lets it sit. 1 second, 2, long enough for the absence to speak louder than any denial ever could. That empty seat becomes the image, the clip, the screenshot people will share before the show even ends. Jimmy finally breaks the quiet, still facing the chair, not chasing Trump, not savoring the moment. A claim didn't end him tonight, he says, calm, almost clinical. Avoidance did. The band tries to come in on cue and misses, a single awkward note slipping out before they pull back, unable to reset the mood. The format is gone. The joke is gone. What's left is the record. One man chose to stand up and leave. The other stayed seated and let the silence do the damage. And everyone in that room knows who walked away from the question and who walked away with the room. The moment the cameras cut, the studio doesn't relax. It fractures. Producers rush in from every direction, headsets half off, voices overlapping. Someone swears under their breath. Another producer looks at a phone and says it out loud before thinking, "We're going to get calls, big ones." Jimmy doesn't react. He stays seated for a beat longer than necessary, then stands calmly, unhurried, like the storm isn't new to him. When the producer repeats it, louder this time, Jimmy finally answers without turning around. "We already did," he says, "from the public." The room goes quiet again, because everyone knows he's right. Whatever happens next isn't going to be decided by executives or press secretaries. It's already moving without them. Within minutes, the clip is everywhere. Not the full segment, not the context, just the moments that can't be explained away. Trump standing up, the chair scraping, Jimmy's one-word question, "False?" followed by silence, and then the walkout. Online, the reaction splits hard and fast. Some headlines scream that Kimmel crossed a line, that comedy turned into ambush, that respect was abandoned. Others are colder, sharper. Trump couldn't answer. Trump walked away. Trump chose silence. Almost no one is debating the claim itself. They're debating the reaction, the body language, the refusal, the moment where power met pressure and blinked. By morning, it's clear what stuck. Not the accusation, not the outrage. The image. An empty chair under bright lights, a host still seated, a question unanswered. That's the clip that loops. That's what people argue about at work, at dinner, online. No verdict is announced, no moral speech delivered, no victory claimed. Just a quiet realization settling in. Power loves the spotlight until the spotlight asks a question. If moments like this matter to you, moments where power gets tested, not by shouting, but by a single question, then stay with us. Subscribe, keep watching, and follow these confrontations as they unfold, because the stories that shape public trust rarely end when the cameras cut.